Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Brewed for Life podcast. I hope you're enjoying the second season of this podcast. And again, I really appreciate all the listeners and some of the feedback and stuff that I've gotten. It's very helpful, and I love the insight, and I love just being able to hear what people's thoughts are about not just the podcast itself, but some of the content that each of the episodes has gotten into. So I just wanted to kind of take a break from the retail stuff that I've been talking about and some of those things. And I want to talk about some of the other things that have been going on and some of the things that I've been seeing pop up on my social media. And obviously that has a lot to do with people's perspectives on the direction that the new administration is taking, and I think that there is still, and I think there will be for a pretty extended period of time, a lot of division between both points of view when it comes to politics and who people think are going to be the better candidate and who people think stand for the things that are most important to them. And I think there's such a wide perspective too as to what is important to different individuals. And just today I saw somebody had posted, I don't know if it was a reel or a story or whatever it was, but this individual was talking about how pissed he is that the current president was out playing golf, and he's played too much golf already in the first week of him being the president. And there was, in the previous administration, there was a lot of the same chatter and the same criticism of Joe Biden and his ability to be in front of the public. But there was also a lot of criticism from the other side about, this dude is spending way too much time at the beach, and he's every place else down at the beach instead of handling business in the White House. And I think that as a U.S. citizen and as, a voter here, everybody is obviously entitled to their opinion. And no matter who the president is or who that face of our country is, there's always going to be criticism as to what that individual is doing, because there's always going to be a winner and a loser at these elections. And the previous 4 years, it happened to be people that are a little bit more conservative and find certain things to be more important to them. And now it's going to be the liberal side of things where people stand really strongly on other points of view, and now they're going to criticize this administration. What I want people to remember, though, is that we can't spend so much time and energy as citizens picking apart what somebody does. We really shouldn't do it in our own lives, in the parts of our lives that really impact us day to day, which is our coworkers and our neighbors and people that we bump into while we're out doing grocery shopping or whatever it may be. We need to realize that nobody's perfect, including ourselves. So to pick apart an individual regardless of their job title or who they are it's not right. I realize that people are going to do it regardless, but we need to really think about what it is that we're thinking and what we're saying, and realize that that you could have the same faults as an individual. I always remember when I was a kid in school when we used to get yelled at for pointing our finger at somebody, and the teachers would say to us be careful where you point your finger, because there's always three other fingers pointing back at you. And that has some real perspective in how we as citizens, I think, have handled the face of our country in politics, is that we spend so much time pointing the finger at each other that we forget that there are three other fingers pointing back at us, and we're ignoring some of the things that we fail at in order to be able to point out somebody else's one failure. And I think the only way that we're going to be able to move forward from that is that if we really look at the grand scheme of things and we as a whole determine what is important to us as citizens and how we have to prioritize how those things are addressed. And I think that that's crazy important because we like I said, we have lost perspective on what is important and what are the major priorities. And what we have done is individually, we've focused on a couple of things and have forgotten about the whole grand scheme of things. Like we could literally have an entire podcast going back and forth about the things that, like Obama did really well and the things he failed at, and then the things that Trump did in his first presidency that were absolute failures, and things that he did really well that helped other people. And we could do the same thing for Joe Biden's term in presidency, things that he did well that were helpful and things that were failures. And now we're going to do it again as Trump goes into his second presidency, where there's going to be a demographic of people that are going to pick apart everything he does, and we're probably not going to acknowledge some of the positive things. I think it's just a natural course of things. But we got to find a way to stand in the center because, like I said, nobody's going to be perfect. So there's going to be failures and there's going to be successes. We just have to try to keep them balanced, and we need to try to be on the winning side of the successes, regardless of who the president is. I think the other thing that has really stood out to me lately is all the talk about DEI and Donald Trump's removal of it from the federal level and reinstating people that, not necessarily reinstating people, but like reinstating how businesses go to practice. Now, I've always felt like, as working for a company that used to deal with promotions and pay raises and that kind of stuff by your work ethic. And it didn't matter if you were of Asian descent, Spanish descent, or not Spanish, Hispanic descent. If you were Afro-American, if you were, of Middle Eastern descent, it didn't really matter where you came from. What really mattered, and it also didn't matter if you were male, female, non-binary, like it didn't matter who you were as an individual. What mattered was the work that you put forth. What mattered was that you were there for your shift, that you came in when they needed extra help, or you stayed a little bit late. What mattered was your work ethic and how well that you did your work, So it's not just that you were there to do it, but like how consistent were you at doing it well? That was something that I think was really important as an employee, was that you knew that you were going to be rewarded based on that, based on your ability to do your work and based on your ability to take on some extra tasks and show that you were capable of taking that next step. And I think that's important. So when things kind of got focused a little bit on the DEI stuff when I was with that company, and I sat through a whole training session that talked about the DEI initiatives and the direction that the company wanted to go into, and what I happened to see was that individuals, again, regardless of their gender or their nationality or their religious beliefs, people that really deserved to be promoted and people that really deserved to have opportunities put their way were bypassed. And they weren't even looked at. And if you tried to have a discussion with them about why this individual deserved the opportunity, it was almost disregarded because the company had become so focused on making sure that a lot of the hires and a lot of the promotions were things that fit into a DEI directive. What happened was that we put people in positions at that time. I can't speak for every company and I can't speak for every individual's experience, but what I can tell you is what I saw. And what I saw was that as a company, we started hiring more people from Hispanic descent. We started promoting more people that were women and also lived an alternative lifestyle. Or if they didn't live an alternative lifestyle, they were of a different nationality. So by that, I mean they weren't white. So they were either Asian or Hispanic or Afro-American. And what happened is that instead of the DEI initiatives moving the needle to be more balanced, it pulled it too far one way. And that is disappointing. And I think that's probably more why, again, I don't know for sure, that could be why, as the new administration has rolled in, that they wanted to peel that stuff back. Because the country needs to be more about being in the middle of the road and being more balanced and being more accepting of alternative lifestyles. And we need to stop pointing the finger and drawing the race line, which I had mentioned before. Because I think the race line is fucking ridiculous. You know, it doesn't matter whether a person is purple, green, red, orange, black, white, brown. Like, none of that shit matters. What matters is does this individual, you know, bring to the table, and does this person treat others the way that they expect to be treated? Does this person come in and give you the work ethic and give you the skills, the acknowledgement of where the direction is as a company? Do they put their best foot forward? Or are they the kind of person that just does enough to get by and then wonders why they don't get the opportunities that the people that come in and really give their all? And I'm not saying you have to sacrifice your soul for a promotion. What I think what needs to be brought forward is that, like, when you come to work, are you effective? Are you efficient? And do you work well with others? And I think that's the important part about what businesses really need to look at. People are so focused on men getting jobs over women, and people who live an alternative lifestyle aren't given the same opportunities as other people. And don't get me wrong, I am not naive. I know that there are people out there that will not hire somebody of an alternative lifestyle, or they won't hire somebody of a certain nationality or background. And I don't think we can fix those people overnight. What I think needs to happen is that there needs to be more of a focus of somebody's skill set. And I think that it needs to start at the top. It can't just be about filing numbers. And what's funny is that I was talking to my mom about this, and my mom was born in 1946, right? So she worked through and has lived through a time where this world was completely divided. And yes, there was a lot of men taking care of men and women being put in positions where they felt like they had to sacrifice themselves as an individual, you know, either being forced into some kind of a sexual favor, which is bullshit, or they're just disregarded by their work ethic and what they bring to the table. And I think the thing that really stood out to me when I talked to her about it was that she was seeing the same things then. So you're looking at like the 1970s, the 1980s, and here we are 2025, and we still have companies segregating and disregarding applicants based on their gender, based on their nationality, based on any of that stuff. And that just goes to show that this is not a Donald Trump thing. This is not a Joe Biden thing. This is not a Barack Obama thing. This is an issue that has been going on for 50 years. So how do we fix it? We fix it by us, the people that, the middle class, the people that are coming up and seeing things go on in these workplaces. And as we get promoted, we need to be better individuals. We need to start setting the tone, because as you go up through the ranks and you do these things, and yes, even if it's a company that hires somebody based on the fact that they may be white and they may be a male, that individual needs to take on that position and handle it the way it should be handled, which is, I don't care if this individual is straight, gay, transgendered, white, black, purple, orange, whatever the fuck it might be. Is this the best candidate for this job? And guess what? Like, I bet you 9 times out of 10, the person that you segregated based on any of those attributes is probably your best candidate. Because I posted something the other day on the Instagram page. It was talking about don't let people know your moves. Move in silence. Let your results speak for who you are as an individual. And I think that's what people need to start doing. Don't let people know what your plan is, and start working and start making the changes so that everybody that comes up underneath you is given the same equal opportunity. And there are laws and stuff about eliminating somebody from a position based on their weight, their height, their gender, their nationality. Like, there's laws on that. So let's use those laws and use that leverage to make sure that things that I think DEI should really be put in place, like all of those things, like you shouldn't be disregarded as a candidate or as an applicant or for promotion or any of those things based on your sexual orientation or any of those things. But we can't move the needle so far one way or another, like in order to achieve things, you have to find a way to get to the middle. And, like if you think about it, like working in retail, I met a bunch of managers that couldn't see the road, and they can't see the forest through the trees. Like they can't wrap their head around things, right? So when they place an order and say boneless chicken breast was on sale and they didn't order enough, so now you ran out and you lost sales because you didn't order enough. By ordering twice as much the next time doesn't fix the fact that you lost sales. Most of those people are not actually going to come back and buy it. So now you've tried to compensate for the lost sales by ordering more when you just need to think about what you have to have in order to continue to drive sales. You can never replace what you lost, and you can't assume that the lost sales are going to be replaced. That's the same idea that needs to be followed when it comes to that DEI stuff. Like, you can't move the needle from right all the way to the left, and then somebody else comes in, like what's happening now, and is going to try to move the needle from the left all the way back to the right. It needs to stop in the middle. That's how you fix the issue. And you need to make people toe the line on what the middle is. And the middle is, it's not about any of those determining factors. Like I've mentioned before, even when it comes to voting, like we shouldn't segregate the vote based on your race, because that's fucking racist. You have to be able to say, all right, this person comes to the table with the skill set that we're looking for. This person has the background that we're looking for. This person might not have that skill set, but has shown us from in-house that they have all the things that we are looking for. So that's how it has to be based. And, I said it before in one of the other podcasts that I think if you eliminated name, gender, and race completely from an applicant's standpoint, you just had applicant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you had to hire somebody just based on their skill set and what was on the paper and based on what you were looking for to fill a job, I think you would find probably 8 or 9 times out of 10 that the person that you hired for that job would have been eliminated because you would have segregated them for all those other reasons. And they will actually end up being probably the better hire because you hired them based on the skills that you were looking for. You hired them based on all the attributes that you put down on a piece of paper that you were looking at for this position. This person may have been your perfect candidate, but you eliminated them because they were a woman or because they were Hispanic or because they were black. And you can't take a business and break it down in percentages and say, I want my company to be 10% female and 5% black and 35% Hispanic. You can't break your company down that way. In all sense of the term, you are segregating your company and you are eliminating your ability to be diverse in a well-balanced company based on all of those metrics. And you are eliminating candidates that could potentially be the best hire. We need to refocus on trying to be in the middle and trying to be compromising and trying to be the most balanced that we can be as a workforce, as a country, as citizens. And that's where we will find a common ground where we are all not going to see eye to eye on everything, but we have to be able to see eye to eye on some things. And right now, even with multiple presidencies, we're looking at now a 12, what are we looking at, like a 20-year span of presidents where there has been a division. And that's just going back to Barack's terms and Donald Trump's first term and Joe Biden's term, and now we're into Donald Trump's second term. Like, we need to start focusing on how do we get to the middle road and how do we come to an agreement on getting things done that are good for everybody, that are good for the direction of this country. And that's where we need to stand. We can't stand any longer on our polar ideas and not try to come to the table in the middle. This country will never be everything that it can be if we stay so fixed on our positions. So with that said, I just wanted to, touch a little bit on this. Thank you guys again so much for listening. I appreciate all of the listens, all the follows. Please follow the pages, Instagram, at Brewed for Life Podcast and at Baines Brewing. I am also working on trying to get the podcast up and some potential videos for the homebrew page up on YouTube. So I'm working on that, so look for that kind of stuff. Excited about where things are going to go, obviously, for the season and going forward, seeing where I could kind of take things on YouTube. So thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you real soon.